Do you ever find yourself wanting to implement new habits and you haven't found the way to do it yet? This episode is for you. Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another episode of More Than Dance. Today, we are talking about habit stacking, and I love talking about things that can make your schedule better and to make you a more productive person and ultimately make more time so that you have more time for dance. And one of those strategies involves habit stacking. And this is such a fun and actually very natural way of improving your schedule and your productivity. So I first noticed habit stacking within myself when I was a Group X instructor. So if you don't know this, I started teaching dance when I was a kid. And also I started teaching group fitness when I was in college. And after college, I taught at so many different studios at one time. So my whole week would be full of random hours at random places all over New England. And the way that my schedule went was it started in the morning at 8:30. Well, earlier, my first class was at 8:30, and then it would end at 10:30 or 11. And that meant that my whole day was on and off, on and off, on and off of work and not work and you have an hour to get here and work and you got to eat a sandwich. And it was a lot. And actually, I definitely wouldn't want that schedule right now because the whole day your mind is getting tricked into thinking, I'm working and I'm resting, I'm working and I'm resting. And what I didn't know then in a scientific way, I knew in an emotional intelligence way, but in a more scientific way, I now know that all of those changes within my day took an efficiency motor out of me, like meaning my brain would be working very hard to do what I was doing. And then at the beginning of that task, it would be like cranking up like a automated toy. Like it would crank. And I would be working extra hard for like the first 20 minutes of that task because it would involve me going from something that I was doing into something that I was doing so quickly. And then I would transition out of that, much like the class itself, because in a class you have a warm up and you have a cool down. And so while I was physically warming up and cooling down, I was mentally warming up and cooling down, getting adjusted. When you're teaching classes for a bunch of different studios, there's a bunch of different people, which means there's a bunch of different ideas and thoughts and room regulation and temperature regulation, and that person's new and I don't know her, and there was just a lot to manage. And the idea of habit stacking became helpful. So what I would say yes to one year is what I would soon say no to the following year. For instance, I started teaching a back-to-back in the morning at the same gym, not different gyms. So that meant that I was teaching at 8:30 and 9:30 at one place, which meant I had an adjustment period of 10 minutes in the morning versus having a 10-minute adjustment period for each class that I was teaching in the morning. I was at one gym and oftentimes people would take both of my classes, so it was easier. Then I had a lunchtime class that I did only Mondays and Wednesdays, so anything else during the day I said no to. Then I had my mid-afternoon class and I would try to do either a 3:30 and 4:30 or a 4:30 and 5:30. So I would have another back-to-back. And then later on, I would either have a 6 to 7 or a 7 to 8 or a 7 to 8 or an 8 to 9. And sometimes I would have 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, and then 10 to 11. Crazy. And so what that did was I could now see my day in chunks. And I had my morning chunk and a break. And then I had my mid-afternoon chunk and a break. And then I would have my nighttime chunk and then I'd go to bed. Now, I know a lot of you right now, that's not your schedule. Your schedule is your big work chunk at work. However, the reason why this relates to you is because we all have habits that we're bringing into our lives, and we can attach them to things that we are already doing. For example, when you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth, I hope you brush your teeth in the morning. Brush your teeth, you floss, and then you go about your next task. Your next task might be making coffee, making tea, it could be making breakfast, it could be packing your work bag. Whatever it is, it's something that you do after you brush your teeth. Now, if you are trying to bring something new, so I'll give you my example. I am bringing this decluttering idea to my schedule, which means after I brush my teeth and before I would go get breakfast, I'm going to tend to one of the rooms and tidy up what I can and discard what I can. So it's something now that I do every day at the same time that I do those other tasks. And I might not even do that task if it wasn't for the fact that I've now associated it with me brushing my teeth and doing something like this before breakfast, which in my case, breakfast is chicken and rice. So it's made me the ability and the time allowance for me to think about something that I wasn't normally doing. And now I can easily do because it's at a designated time slot and it's at something that I do every day. And it's something that I have now paired with as its own activity. So I just thought of the Spice Girls. When two become one. So it's like those two moments, brushing teeth, tidying, they're now one thing that I do together. So right now, can you think of something in your schedule that you can attach to something else that you do? I usually think about this in terms of errands as well. So because I lived that like on the road life of like being at this appointment and taking a break and living out of your car, it's a very uncomfortable feeling and unsettling feeling, by the way. However, I did get to read a lot of audiobooks. So at that time, I habit stacked with my crazy schedule the idea of reading books. So I was able to read and learn so much on my drives, on my wait times, and had a lot of fun doing that. And because I lived that life and I really didn't love it, the days that I leave my house to go do errands or get certain things done that involve me leaving what I'm currently focused in and in flow in, I always want to make sure I'm stacking it with something. So for example, if I'm going to make a return at a store and I'm going to buy a gift for someone at a store and maybe they fall at different times, I'm going to make them fall at the same time. So I'm going to save, maybe put on my loop list that task, and I'm going to loop it over to the next week when I know I have a bigger and better time slot to get more things done that are more relevant with that time period of that week, so that I'm only driving once and using up maybe an hour to do 3 tasks versus an hour to do 1 task and another hour here to do the same task in the same location. Now, this can be a very natural thing to do, and I'm sure you already do it. And the reason why I'm bringing it up to you is because you can habit stack your dancing. So let's say that you have a special ritual when you get home. Let's say that you have a dog, and when you go home, you let the dog out, and then you maybe you sit on the couch and you relax, you change into your comfy clothes. Well, maybe it's at that second time that you let the dog out when you get home that you habit stack, okay, it's time to get out and time to go to dance. So maybe it's that second moment where you're attaching and you're associating, okay, well, when the second time the dog goes out, that's when I do something active. And it could be maybe you, instead of letting the dog out, maybe you do go for a walk. My goal is to get you to lose your fear about dance. And also, this is the More Than Dance podcast. So that's why we're talking about dance. So if you can habit stack something that you would definitely do, I mean, you're not going to go home and not let your dog out. You'll be able to create a very real association with something that you're bringing into your schedule. The other thing about this is it could be that you're making time to be more social, or maybe you're going out on dates. So it could very well be that you habit stack, okay, when I go to dance, after dance, that's when I'm going to go on Bumble and bumble around. Or it could be that's when I go on Tinder, that's when I go on Hinge. And so now you're bringing in 2 things into your life, but they're habit stacked. So you're being, and I'm calling this productiveness, because I do think putting yourself out there and dating is being productive, because it's another thing that's kind of like one of those items on the loop list. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to the episode right before this one. It's all about those ideas that you really want to do and you want to get to them. However, there's no designated time. And this is just another way to get those things on the list done and completed, and knowing that you're bringing them into your life so that you can get closer and closer to your goals, because your goals matter. And when you're not treating them like they matter, the year goes around and you're just actually looping that task to your next year, and it's not getting done. So this is the year that you are meant to dance, because you're listening to this right now. And I'm encouraging you to figure out a way to stack it to a habit that you already do, or a new habit that you're forming, so that you can get the most out of this next month upcoming year and ultimately your life. So I hope that this was helpful for you. And I know that this was a very somewhat elementary concept, and that gives me excitement because if it's so elementary and we can understand it so easily, let's do it. Let's effing do it. So I will see you on the dance floor. And if you did find this helpful, it would mean the world to me if you left a 5-star written review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much. And I'll see you on the dance floor.